The front door closed softly behind her. No suitcase. No explanation. Just Rachel standing there, fingers still wrapped around the handle, as if she wasn't sure she should let go. This is a fictional story inspired by real emotions and human experiences. 3 days ago, she had disappeared. No message. No warning. Just an empty bed and a silence that settled into every room of the house. I'd replayed every possible scenario in my head. None of them prepared me for this. She looked different, not in a dramatic way. It was subtler than that. Her eyes didn't search for reassurance. They didn't apologize. They observed, calm, distant, like she had crossed a line and decided not to look back. I noticed the details. Her jacket smelled clean, unfamiliar. Her phone stayed locked in her hand. She slipped off her shoes carefully, like she was stepping into a place that no longer felt like home. I waited for an explanation. She waited too. The silence stretched. What would you do? How would you react? If this happened to you, what would your first words be? Stay until the end, because I'll be asking you more questions when this story is over. She finally moved first. Not toward me, not away, just enough to remind me she was real. Rachel set her keys on the small table by the door, aligning them carefully, as if order could soften what came next. The sound was quiet, but it echoed through the house. I didn't know how to come back, she said. Her voice was steady. That was the part that unsettled me most. I nodded, though nothing made sense yet. For 3 days, I had lived inside questions, hospitals, accidents, regret. None of those lived in her tone now. She wasn't shaken, she wasn't relieved, she was resolved. Where were you? I asked. She hesitated, not because she didn't know the answer, but because she was deciding how much of it belonged to me. Somewhere I needed to be, she said. I waited for more. It didn't come. She walked past me into the living room, touching the back of the couch like it was an old habit she was testing. Her eyes traced the familiar walls with the detachment of someone visiting a place they'd already outgrown. I didn't leave to hurt you, she added quietly. I swallowed. You still left. That landed. Her shoulders tightened for half a second before settling again. She sat down, crossing her legs slowly, deliberately. Everything about her movements felt intentional now, like she'd rehearsed them in private. I needed silence, she said. Not the kind you find here. The kind where no one needs anything from you. I wanted to argue, to remind her that disappearing wasn't silence, it was cruelty. But the word felt too sharp to release just yet. So you just turned everything off? I asked. Your phone? Your life? She met my eyes then. I turned myself back on. The sentence hung between us, heavy and unfinished. I noticed what she didn't say. She didn't say she missed me. She didn't say she was sorry. She didn't say she was scared. She said she was necessary, to herself. I thought something happened to you, I said. My voice cracked despite my effort. I thought I lost you. Her expression softened, but only slightly. I know. That was it. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I didn't mean to. Just acknowledgement. She leaned back, exhaling slowly. These 3 days didn't change everything, she said. They just made something impossible to ignore. My chest tightened. And what is that? Rachel looked around the room one more time before answering. That the life we're living might not be the one I can stay in. The words didn't explode. They settled. And somehow, that was worse. That night, neither of us suggested sleep. The house felt too alert for it, like the walls themselves were listening. Rachel stayed on the couch. I stayed at the kitchen table, pretending to scroll through my phone while replaying every version of her last sentence. The life we're living might not be the one I can stay in. I remembered the morning she left. Or rather, the morning I realized she was gone. Her side of the bed untouched. The coffee maker cold. No message on the counter. I'd stood there longer than I should have, waiting for the house to correct itself. You didn't think to tell me you were struggling? I asked now, breaking the quiet. Rachel pulled a blanket over her legs, more for comfort than warmth. I didn't know how to explain it without sounding ungrateful. For what? I asked. For us? She flinched, just barely. For everything. she said.
The money.
The stability, the routine,
Get it.
the future we planned because it made sense.
I had to.
That hurt more than I expected. Our life had been practical, yes, but it had also been built with intention. Or so I thought. You could have talked to me, I said.
Wish we could communicate
She nodded.
more clearly.
I know.
I know.
But every time I tried, I felt like I was betraying a version of myself I'd already committed to. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. So you disappeared instead.
No.
I stepped away, she corrected. I needed to hear my own thoughts without them competing with expectations.
Clarity,
Mine?
denial.
I asked.
There's a difference.
Ours, she said gently.
You knew?
There was no anger in her voice. That was the strangest part.
I've known for a
Anger
while.
I could have matched. Calm felt
I understand
untouchable.
why you feel that way.
I didn't go
simply do
anywhere
not feel the
dramatic,
same.
she continued.
The choice
No
has been
secrets?
made.
No one else?
I hope you can find
Just
peace
a
with
place
that.
where I wasn't anyone's partner
I know
or
what this
plan.
looks like, but I needed
I
that
wanted to
time
believe
alone
her.
to think.
I did
It
believe
was
her.
just me,
And that
no one
almost made it
else.
worse.
I promise.
What did you
This is
figure
the
out?
way here.
I asked. She took a
What did
long
you
breath
figure
before
out?
answering. That I've been living ahead of myself, making choices for a future I wasn't ready to inhabit. I thought about the engagement photos still sitting on her desk. The boxes in the closet labeled kitchen, books, winter coats, proof of momentum. And where does that leave us? I asked. Rachel's eyes filled, not with
I needed
panic,
to tell you this.
but with something like grief.
It's been weighing on me.
Standing at a question we've been
I'm here
avoiding.
for you.
The clock on the
Just
wall
take your
ticked
time.
loudly. Each second felt like a small withdrawal from something we hadn't realized was finite. I don't know what happens next, she said. But I know
I have
pretending
something
nothing
important to
changed
tell
would be
you.
a lie.
I know this
I
won't be
nodded
easy,
slowly,
but I'm ready to
because
face it
deep
with you.
down, I knew she was
promise.
right. The problem wasn't that she'd left. It was that she'd come back certain of something I was only beginning to fear. The next morning felt wrong from the start. Not tense, emptier than that. Like something essential had been removed overnight and the house hadn't caught up yet. Rachel woke before me. I knew because I heard the shower running, steady and unhurried, the sound of someone with nowhere else to be. When she came out, dressed in jeans and a plain sweater, she looked almost like herself again. Almost. But something in her posture had shifted. She moved like someone who had already made a decision and was now waiting for the world to notice. "I'm going to take a walk," she said, grabbing her keys. I didn't ask where.
Wait up.
That felt like crossing a line we hadn't defined yet. While she was gone, I wandered through the house, noticing things I'd ignored for years. The picture frames we never replaced, the box of invitations still sealed in the closet, the extra mugs we bought for guests who never came, evidence of a life paused mid-sentence. When Rachel returned, her cheeks were pink from the cold. She looked lighter. That scared me. "I kept thinking about something you said," I told her. She looked up.
I needed to tell
Which
you
part?
it's over.
"That you didn't leave to hurt me." She nodded slowly. "But you didn't stay to protect me either," I
I
added.
don't know what else to do.
That landed differently.
We'll figure it
She
out.
sat down across from me, resting her elbows on her knees. I didn't know how to do both. There it was. Not an excuse, not an apology. Just truth, laid flat between us. "I'm not
The way
asking
we
you to
were
decide everything right
is
now,"
gone now.
she said.
There
"I just
is
need
no
space to
turning
figure
back.
out who I am without the momentum." "And what am I supposed to do
I
in
need
that
space
space?"
to figure things
I
out for
asked.
myself.
She hesitated.
This
For the
isn't a
first time
request,
since she'd
what I
come
have to
back,
do.
she looked unsure. "Be honest with yourself, too." I laughed quietly. Not because it was funny, but because it felt cruelly symmetrical. She had 3 days to find clarity. I was being asked to start from scratch. That afternoon, she packed a small bag, just enough for a few nights. She said she'd stay with a friend, not to escape, but to breathe. At the door, she paused. "I still care about you," she said. I believed her. That didn't make it easier. "Care isn't the same as choosing," I replied. Her eyes filled then, not dramatically, just enough to blur. She nodded once and left. The door closed. This time, it wasn't quiet. I sat on the floor for a long time after, surrounded by a life that suddenly felt provisional. I realized something unsettling. I wasn't just afraid of losing her. I was afraid that if she chose differently, I wouldn't know who I was without the version of myself built around us. And that thought stayed with me long after the house went silent again. The days without Rachel didn't fall apart the way I expected. They stretched. Quiet. Functional. I went to work. I answered emails. I cooked meals for one and ate them standing up, as if sitting would make the absence louder. At night, I replayed moments I'd taken for granted. Not fights, not big declarations, just the ordinary things: her shoes by the door, the way she folded towels, how she always read the last page of a book first. I wondered how many of those habits she was already letting go of. She texted once, just once, "I hope you're okay." I stared at the message for a long time before replying. I'm figuring it out. It felt honest, incomplete, like everything else. On the third night, I found myself opening a box in the closet, the one labeled future. Inside were plans we'd made without realizing how heavy they were. Notes, lists, a timeline written in her handwriting. I hadn't noticed how tight the margins were, how little room there was for uncertainty. I folded the paper carefully and put it back. Not to preserve it, but to acknowledge it had existed. When Rachel finally came back, it wasn't dramatic. No apologies, no announcements. Just her standing in the doorway again, this time with a small bag and tired eyes. "I don't want to disappear again," she said, "but I can't pretend either." We sat across from each other, closer than before, but no less divided.
I'm not disappearing.
I realized something, she continued.
But I can't pretend anymore.
I've been afraid of disappointing people my whole life. And somewhere along the way, I confused commitment with obligation. I listened, not to argue, not to defend, just to understand. "And you?" she asked. "What did you realize?" That was harder. I realized I've been measuring our relationship by how stable it looked. I said slowly, not by how honest it felt. She nodded. There was relief in her face, but also sadness. "So what does that mean?" she asked. I exhaled. "It means we can't go back to how things were, even if we wanted to."
I can't go back.
She looked down at her hands. I know. For the first time since she'd left, neither of us tried to soften the truth. We let it be what it was. Unfinished. That night, she slept in the guest room. Not as a punishment, as a boundary. Lying in bed alone, I realized something else. Whatever happened next wouldn't be a continuation. It would be a choice. And choices, I was learning, don't come with guarantees. The conversation we'd been circling finally arrived without ceremony. No raised voices. No ultimatums. Just two people sitting across from each other on a quiet evening, aware that avoiding the truth had become more exhausting than facing it. Rachel spoke first.
Okay.
"I don't want to keep living in a half decision." I nodded. I felt the same, even if the outcome terrified me. "We've been asking each other to be versions of ourselves that fit the life we planned," she continued. "Not the life we're actually capable of living right now." I thought about all the compromises we'd labeled as maturity. How often we'd postponed difficult conversations in the name of stability. "So, what are you saying?" I asked. She met my eyes. That I need to step away, not to leave forever, but to stop pretending I'm ready for something I'm not. The words were careful,
I think it's over.
still devastating. I leaned
I
back,
just don't see how we
pressing
can
my
keep
palms
doing
into my
this.
knees. "And what happens to us in the meantime?" Rachel hesitated. We let go of the expectations. We see who we are without the pressure to become something fixed. "That sounds like breaking up," I said. She didn't argue. That was answer enough. I realized then that holding on wouldn't bring clarity. It would only delay the inevitable and turn resentment into something permanent. "Okay," I said quietly. Her breath caught.
I understand.
She hadn't expected agreement. Maybe neither of us had. We talked logistics,
It's all right, you'll be
not
okay.
because we wanted to, but because it was easier than sitting in the ache. Time, space,
Agreed.
what we'd
Let's
tell
start with a
people,
count of the current stock.
what we wouldn't. When it was over, nothing felt resolved, but something felt honest.
We can't erase what
At the
we
door,
shared.
Rachel stopped. "This doesn't erase what we had," she said. "I know," I replied, "but it changes what we can have next."
Things
She
change.
nodded, tears finally slipping free. She didn't wipe them away. After she left, I stood in the living room, surrounded by silence that felt different this time, less accusatory, more open. I didn't know if we'd find our way back to each other, or if this was the beginning of something else entirely. But for the first time since she disappeared, I wasn't waiting for her to return as the person she used to be. I was letting her go as the person she needed to become. And somehow, that felt like the bravest thing we'd done. Time didn't rush in to fill the space Rachel left. It moved cautiously, like it wasn't sure it was welcome. Days passed, then weeks. The house stopped feeling like a waiting room and started feeling like something else, unfinished, but real. I learned new rhythms. I cooked differently, slept diagonally across the bed, let silence exist without trying to explain it. Some nights were easier than others. On the harder ones, I reminded myself that clarity often hurts before it heals. Rachel and I spoke occasionally, not about us, about neutral things, books, weather, small observations that didn't demand decisions. Each conversation felt like touching a bruise, careful, aware, restrained. One afternoon, she asked if we could meet. We chose a quiet place, neutral ground. She arrived looking calmer than I remembered. Not happier, just more present. I've been afraid to come here, she admitted. Not because of you, because I didn't want to fall back into old patterns. I nodded. I get that. We talked slowly, honestly, without rehearsed lines. She told me about the things she'd discovered in the quiet, how much of her identity had been built around being agreeable, reliable, certain. I don't regret loving you, she said, but I needed to know who I was without the life we were building. And do you? I asked. She paused. I'm getting there. I realized then that whatever we were becoming, together or apart, wouldn't be shaped by fear anymore. That alone felt like progress. When we stood to leave, there was no dramatic goodbye. No promise. No closure wrapped in certainty. Just honesty. As she walked away, I felt something unexpected. Gratitude. Not for the pain, but for the clarity it forced. Rachel didn't disappear to hurt me. She disappeared to save herself. And in doing so, she gave me the chance to do the same. Some stories don't end with answers. They end with awareness. Rachel didn't come back the same person because she couldn't. The version of her that left had outgrown the life she was living, but hadn't yet grown into the one she needed. And the truth is, I had been standing still, mistaking stability for fulfillment. What we shared mattered. It still does. But love alone doesn't guarantee alignment. Sometimes caring deeply means allowing space, even when that space feels like loss. Letting go wasn't failure. It was honesty. And honesty, while painful, creates room for something real. Maybe we'll find our way back to each other one day. Maybe we won't. But whatever happens next won't be built on silence, fear, or expectation. It will be built on choice. And that makes all the difference. Now let me ask you, would you have reacted the same way? What would you do in her place? Do you think she made the right decision? Before you leave, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your honest thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to vote in the poll.